Join me as we talk all things true crime.
Made contact and shattered.
Liberty, a missing 4-year-old. The parents have called in and advised that the mother had went for a walk, came home, now they can't find her, they've been yelling for her.
Turn it over to another agency. Let's get some help.
Where are your kids? They've been missing for 4 months. You have nothing to say? You're over here in Hawaii? Dad, where are Lori's kids?
4 were stabbed multiple times and were likely asleep during the attack. Some had defensive wounds.
Most of them had just like one that was the lethal stab wound.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. Welcome to another ATS live stream. We are going to be going over the Delphi case and we are re-examining it because everything that we thought we knew, or at least myself, when I joined this case, I had a lot of people who said, I would like your fresh outlook on this case. We really needed new people to go through things. And now I'm feeling like everything that I was standing on the ground for this case has just fallen out from under me, and we're kind of re-examining things a new way. So I've just pulled up some old clips, some old articles, and the new documents that just came out as well today, which are some affidavits. So let me share my screen. I put them on my community page in case you guys wanted to go and read them in detail. But these are the state's response to the defense's claims that the guards were wearing Odinism patches. And this is a claim that they stated in their manurant in those documents. We're just going to call them documents because I cannot say that M word for the life of me every time I go live. But when I'm not live, I'm saying it all the time. Either way, they're the new documents that came out, and in reference to some of the correctional officers, they stated that 2 of them were wearing Odinism style patches. And here is their sworn affidavits where they're pretty much denying anything like that being linked to Odinism, at least. And they are admitting to wearing them, but it says, at least this one, it says, I do not practice Odinism. I do wear patches on my uniform that can be, but are not associated with Odinism. Now that's interesting because it says that can be. And from everything that we've kind of been looking into this whole day in regards to this association or religious higher power, it says here, the patches pay the utmost respect to my religious higher power, the same way a Christian person would wear a cross. So, anyone who even wears a cross or the Star of David, they're very steadfast in their faith. They're proud of it. They want to show it and, maybe have it as protection or what have you. So the fact that these officers are putting, something on their uniform, which they're supposed to just be in uniform and everyone look the same as far as correctional officers, but yet they are so proud and just steadfast in their faith for this religion that they're putting patches on their uniforms. But it says, I'm not part of a cult. I'm not part of a radical hate group, because the defense claimed that they're associated with these white supremacists. And pretty much this sergeant, they're both sergeants, said that he was asked to take the patch off on September 19th. So I believe that was after the the defense documents came out. And then the other sergeants signed affidavit. The wardens is in there as well, claiming that there are 5 inmates who practice Odinism in the prison. Now, this other sergeant pretty much says that he's part of a Nordic paganism heathenry and that it's not Odinism. But just like that other guy stated, he said that it can be seen as Odinism, but it's not. His exact words were, can be, but are not associated with Odinism. and then we look up this Noric pagan heathenry, and from what we've seen in the little time that we've looked, it seems that that's also tied to, you can associate it with Odinism. So it's just, and this sergeant was also asked on the 23rd to take him off of his uniform. Now, many have wondered, why, if it has nothing to do with Odinism, why were they asked to take it off? Why is it, something that they had to remove if it has nothing to do with what was being accused of them? They also stated that they have tased Richard Allen twice since he's been behind bars, but it's because he was not cooperating. So that pretty much sums up like the main gist of these documents. You're more than welcome to visit the community page and kind of read through them. And this one also denounces being associated with any hatred for any race, not part of a radical group. So they're pretty much denying it, but at the same time admitting that, yes, they were wearing patches and that they can be associated with Odinism. So take that for what you will. I think that that's interesting, and they're signed affidavits. So now what I want to do tonight, so we're re-examining the case, and I just want to look at some stuff that we've looked at before, but I want to kind of pick it apart in a way. Hello, CDT, and everyone who has joined us tonight. Cray 420, Adrian, thank you all for being here. Mark, Mama Bear, thank you guys. I do want to kind of just re-look at some stuff that we have before, but I want to look at it in a way to kind of play devil's advocate, or like, it could be this way, but if you look at it in a different light, does it mean this? So that's pretty much what we're going to be talking about. Hi, Johnny and Alex. Thanks, guys, for being here. So just taking a drink of water. If you guys haven't hit like or subscribed, it's all I ask of you guys to do, and it's totally free. So let me just switch my screen up. This was at a press conference. We're just looking back on clips, and there'll be clips from press conferences from Doug Carter, law enforcement, written statements from FBI. And then obviously we're going to just be talking about everything that we know in this case in these clips. And then we'll dig deeper into a little bit more of this Odinism stuff. So this is 2 years into the case. And that's the other thing, is I'm not so sure that Richard Allen isn't tied into all this. So the title of this stream is, Was He Framed? And that's pretty much what the defense is claiming, that, they spent too much time going after the wrong people, and Richard Allen isn't a part of this, but this whole radical Odinism group is. And, I'm not certain that he's guilty, but I'm not certain that he's innocent. I think that it's very possible that he's involved in this with other people. And when he was arrested, and in other statements from the district attorney and all that, the prosecution, they have stated that, there could be other people involved. So Richard Allen being under, the radar, it slipped under the radar for how long? I mean, he comes forward on the first few days of the investigation, the 13th or 14th. And he says, yes, I was at the bridge. I was at the trail. I saw some girls there. And he's placed himself willingly, in the midst of this investigation. And we have to ask ourselves, would a guilty person come forward right away and say, hey, I heard about what happened. I was there, but, I was just looking at the fish. Or, is it you can look at it both ways. Like, that's pretty much what I want to do tonight. Like, we've looked at it in the light of he was trying to get ahead of things because he knew he was seen, and he knows that perhaps maybe that's him on the bridge in the image. So he decides to get ahead of the investigation and stuff that they know and say, like, yes, I was there, but I didn't see anything unusual. Or, it's like maybe he's totally look at it from a sense of like he didn't have anything to do with it, and he just comes forward because that's what people do when they give a tip. And maybe that's what it was. Nobody really knows that for sure except Abby and Libby, and obviously they're not going to be able to tell. So Cray 420 says, I think Richard is using red herring about Odin stuff. And there are the whole aspect of this case of the three detectives who really were exploring that avenue when this investigation started, and how they wanted to kind of explore that avenue more so than they felt Richard Allen's PCA was going to stand up. They thought that their theory and avenue of this Odinism angle was probably going to be more solid than Richard Allen. And that was their belief. So we can't forget that this isn't just some fantasy that the defense has kind of just made up, judging by the crime scene. This was a legitimate theory and angle that the detectives were kind of exploring at the time. And hello, MK and Roxanne. So good to see you guys. And Patricia, thanks everyone who's joined.
Right. And so I don't know that that's my role to tell the investigators how to investigate the case. I want to be more of a support to them. If we have a resource in my office that you can use, I want to make that available to them. Having said that, I think investigators constantly relook at evidence every day.
And now the irony in this statement from the prosecution here, again, 2 years after the crime, and, he was arrested in 2022, so years before Richard Allen is even arrested. Richard Allen his tip is just, according to everyone, lost in translation at this point, because it was something that somebody had found in 2022 or whenever it was, like years later, going through things. And then they started honing in more about Richard Allen behind the scenes. So at this point, he's saying, like, I think that investigators are constantly going over old stuff and looking over old information. And it's just interesting and ironic that he says that, and they're talking about old tips that they need to go over, and then he thinks they are doing that. And maybe they were. It's just the irony of it still being years away at this statement for an arrest is strange, because they are talking about tips, and maybe investigators should always be going through them, and that he assumes they are. And one of these sketches had short curly hair or wavy hair. Why? Yeah, we're going to get into the sketches, even though I know a lot of people who study this case, they hate discussing that, but we have to, because neither of those sketches to me look like Richard Allen.
Is there something I miss? Is there something else I can do? So I think that's constantly going on, but in my opinion, it's not my place to give direction to the investigators on how to run the investigation.
You had to know the area to have gotten in and out. It just seems logical that they had some kind of local ties, at the very least. So I didn't expect him to literally be living right under everyone's noses.
Former FBI Special Agent John Douglas, a.k.a. the...
So this is an old clip, and it has a former FBI Special Agent. Believe he's the one that the Mine Hunters show is about. And he gives his take on this Delphi case. And this, again, is before Richard Allen was arrested.
Mindhunter says that recently released extended audio of the suspect speaking may hold a vital clue, his use of the word guy.
You don't wake up one day and commit a double homicide like this. There has to be some kind of trail, some type of prior criminal history.
Allen has...
Now, this is going to get into, I've clipped some things together with the FBI agent's opinion. Richard Allen has no criminal record. He has something that came up on dispatch when they were looking into his records, and it was related to a DV incident with his wife, but she never filed charges. He never spent any time behind bars for anything. So I think that that's important to kind of note, because I'm not saying Ron Logan is involved, but I believe that the FBI were studying that angle as well. So we know that they were looking at Odinus. We also know that, in my opinion, they were kind of looking at Ron Logan. I mean, he had the property that the girls were found on. He has a prior criminal record. He was on probation for, I believe, a DUI charge. He had other offenses as well. And I think that Ron Logan, has more of a rap sheet than Richard Allen. So that's interesting to me. And yes, Ron Logan has passed, and there are people who are steadfast in their belief that Ron Logan had nothing to do with it. It was just bad luck. And, he lied because he didn't want to get in trouble. Well, the FBI writes up in their write-up that in their experience, people lie because they, are trying to cover up for something else. You know what I mean? So it's just another hole in this case, and another, is it a red herring, or was it more? And now we'll never know because he's passed. Was he involved in some way, shape, or form? Because the other question is whoever put those girls on his property, how did they know that Ron Logan wasn't going to see them do that? I mean, it was very laid out, and it looked like, from what we've heard, that the sticks were kind of sawed in a way that was like premeditated. It wasn't just sticks that were laying out there. So it's just a question and a void in this case that it's just hard to kind of write off Ron Logan as nothing. However, like I've said, from people who have studied this case even longer than I have, they're, very steadfast, and Ron had nothing to do with this, and blah, blah, blah. It's just unfortunate that we'll never know 100%. Nobody knows 100% if Ron Logan was associated with this, because he's not here. So there's no further, investigation into him.
No criminal history, but Carroll County dispatch records show he had one encounter with police in 2015. The sheriff said it was a domestic issue where Allen was supposedly drunk and his wife took him to a Lafayette hospital. No law enforcement action was taken, but deputies were sent to his Delphi home to, quote, keep the peace.
What does guys say to you?
Guys say to me that there may be he may know these victims, or it's a person, like if he's dealing with children, girls and boys, he won't say boys, he will say guys. So someone who has interaction with children, almost how like a school teacher would tell kids. I just think this.
So let's explore that for a second. We know also from the FBI notes in, I believe, Ron Logan's property search warrant, that there was no signs of a struggle. So this FBI profiler's opinion of the word guys in that audio clip, he's saying, well, maybe he knew them. And I think that that's sort of what I was thinking when I kind of try to picture this whole thing that takes place, and that the girls had no defensive wounds on them. Did they know the attacker? You know what I mean? But then that kind of leads me to a dead end, because if we're going by the theory that they were going there because they thought they were meeting Anthony Schatz, well, obviously whoever they meet isn't Anthony Schatz. So how could they not have defensive wounds if they knew the person, or because they knew the person? It's just, I'm getting hung up on too many things that are swirling around in this case, because that's the other problem too, is for me to kind of write off Anthony Schatz, that account being used by Keegan Klein, which, is interesting, is we all know that terminology is called catfishing. Like when someone's using a fake profile and fake pictures and all that, trying to meet up with people, it's called catfishing, right? but on our last live stream, we made the connection that Ron Logan says that he was at the store buying tropical fish, and Richard Allen says that he was at the bridge looking at fish. Now I'm like thinking about, and Keegan Klein was catfishing. Like, what is all these like fish innuendos, but yet no one is actually doing the activity of fishing? It's just so bizarre. The other thing too is like the clothing being found in the river. You know, the river has some element to this in some way, shape, or form. The girls' bodies looked like they were clean, right? Like there was no mud or blood on them. Did this take place in that little river? I think so too, Wheelby. He says, I think that feds need to take over this case and start an investigation from scratch. At this point, how can the state pull all these person of interest together and make us understand what happened? I agree. And that's sort of like what I wanted to get into tonight too, is like, it seems like there was just too many different agencies and opinions going on. Like, not only the detectives who thought that the Odinism angle was something to be explored more, but when you add in the state and the federal and the fact that Richard Allen's tip when he called in and said that he was there, that was a conservation officer. So that's not even state police, you know what I mean? So all these different people involved, like it's just all over the place. The case is all over the place.
Should have been releasing information a lot sooner.
In 2019, Indiana State Police released.
So he pretty much ends that segment by saying, and this was in 2019, I believe that interview was, I think that they should have been releasing some of the evidence a lot sooner. So we all wondered, why did they show us this sketch first and then years later shared this sketch, you know? And it's like, why did they give us a little part of the clip first and then they gave us the guys down the hill? And first they didn't give us the bridge guy walking. It was just a still frame. And in his experience and in his opinion, he's saying that he just thinks they should have released the information sooner. What do you guys think about that? Do you agree with him?
Interaction with children, almost how like a school teacher would tell kids. I just think they should have been releasing information a lot sooner.
In 2019, Indiana State Police released a sketch of a man thought to be a suspect in the murder of Abby and Libby. 2 years later, investigators released another sketch of a much younger man.
That guy and that guy, there's a lot of similarities. How did we get from here to here?
Well, I think that, remember, I've said from the very...
And that's the question we all want to know. Why is one looking like Justin Timberlake and the other guy looking super old? You know, and we got to hear Doug's response, but at the same time, to just switch the your mind up a little bit too. Richard Allen, it seemed before the crime, had a lower like goatee. And then when you see him in pictures like after 2017, he like grew it longer. So could you argue, you know, Richard Allen's involved and well, he was just trying to switch his appearance up? I don't know.
Beginning since 2017. A sketch is a sketch, it's not a photograph. That's the first time I've seen that.
Really?
Yeah. And I've also indicated over time that I think once we get to where we are today, we'll be able to look at the similarities of the two sketches and make a photograph, which will be Richard Allen.
So he's surmising that, you know, if we combine them, that gives you Richard Allen. There's no way. Neither of them look anything similar to each other, let alone like, oh yes, I see it. It's Richard Allen. The other problem is too, they had said something to us before, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong, that they believed that there was two people involved. So that's why, or more than one person involved. So that's why there was more than one sketch that looked like that. Now, the defense has claimed that another person who like gave a description in sketch was annoyed that the one that they had released first, which is the Justin Timberlake looking one, doesn't look like the guy that she saw. Whether or not we know that to be true, we don't know 100% because we haven't seen her statements. We just know that the defense is claiming that she was saying, like, why did you release this picture? Like, that's not the guy I saw. People are not buying this whole combine them together. It looks like Richard. Caroline, good to see you. My view is the police were clumsy in a bunch of ways. Mostly they were real bad at trying to gaslight an unknown suspect. They were competing with hunches to see whose best hunch invent. And yeah, which one was the best? I agree. And it's like, in doing so, in not agreeing maybe behind the scenes with like the angles and the theories, it seems like sometimes pride can also get in the way at times like this. I think they should have released all of what they knew as fact and what they knew of the recording and what they believe occurred. And for a long time, it's too different. I agree. For a long time, hey, Shay, I believed that, oh, well, there's a rhyme and reason why law enforcement has handled it this way. They're trying to keep everything close to the vest. They don't want everything to come out before trial. And I don't want to jinx it or anything, but like the way that Richard Allen is deteriorating, I'm like, are we even going to make it to a trial for him? And is that what they want? Like, do they want it to be that he doesn't make it to trial because he's just deteriorating behind bars? Like they're stating that they had to tase him twice, and people were saying that he was saying something in court about like, don't tase me or something, don't shock me again. Like, what is going on? It's just, I don't know anymore, for real. High criminality. I really don't know what is going on in this case anymore, and I'm hoping to get more clarity with you guys. I'm just not seeing Richard Allen.
I think there's a little bit of both, and I don't regret the strategy to do what we did.
So this here, before, now here's the other thing. Back to thinking that possibly Richard Allen could be involved. He changes his appearance up a little bit more after the murders take place. He had clean shaven, but then he would grow a goatee. And then as soon as the goatee was there, he grew it even longer. And, obviously when he was arrested, he had that larger goatee that was longer. He also gained a lot more weight, it seemed, over the years, which now he's completely lost all that weight. And he looks nothing like these two pictures on the screen. I'm just not really seeing the sketches when it comes to Richard Allen. So the other thing, Keegan Klein, like I was saying earlier, where does he fit in? We know that, he came up with that fake Anthony Shots profile and used images of a male model and portrayed that image as himself. And he was, making it seem like he was very wealthy, had sports car. It says the creator of the fake profile used the information while communicating with juvenile females to solicit nude images, obtained addresses, and attempt to meet them. Now, we also had heard that he was one of the last people to be in contact with the girls. Hold on, let me switch up the screen. I want to just pull up this other article in reference to Richard Allen, or in reference, yeah. It was after he was arrested, I believe. Oh, wait, no, not this one. But that is problematic too. We'll get to that. Keegan Klein. Where do you guys think Keegan Klein fits in? Because we know that he had charges that were dropped, and they were really disturbing charges too. So everyone wanted to know, like, why, So this is October 2022. And they're stating that, he's connected to the Delphi case because of the Anthony Schatz profile. Let's see. He's never been charged with the murders of Libby and Abby, despite that, investigators say the person behind the online profile was one of the last to communicate with Libby before she and Williams were found dead. So, that's the other thing too. Being one of the last people to be communicating with them and planning to meet up with them that day doesn't look good for Keegan Klein. But where exactly does he fit in? 30 charges, and I believe they dropped 5 of them. Now, here's the other thing. They searched Klein's Indiana home the 25th, just 11 days after the bodies were discovered. And part of that whole thing was because he was soliciting underage girls. So that was part of the probe in that search warrant. So he allegedly created the account to contact the girls. He knew and the girls he did not. Oh, girls he knew and girls he did not. Court documents show Klein saying he would talk to the girls even if they were underage at 16, and that he found them on Instagram and told them to message him on Snapchat. Klein allegedly claimed to have received pictures from all the girls he chatted with and had saved them. Let's get back to these two. So it's just talking about stuff that they had sent him. So it says investigators said he told them he was effed because he should have left. Klein said he had planned to leave the area that day after his dad fell asleep, according to the court documents. So they took smartphones, a tablet, iPad, touch as part of the investigation. The iPad was last used in 2015. And I believe he also stated that other people had access to the Anthony Schatz profile account. So we don't know, I don't think, if that's 100% true. So it says here there was photos of underage images, drugs, and Klein with a black handgun. Now, I want to know, was this the type of handgun that would hold a bullet that was found at the scene? I don't know. I'm just looking to see if there's anything more specific about them. Just about how he would meet up with girls and what apps he used. He has not been named a suspect in the Delphi murders. In fact, ISP issued the following statement. The Indiana State Police do not confirm or deny anyone who is or who is not a suspect in any ongoing investigation. At this time, we were looking for any information about the Anthony Schatz profile and anyone who have had contact with that profile. The case that you are referring to is separate, and it's they're talking about his charges. That it's all separate from the Delphi case. Keegan Klein's court-appointed public attorney released the following statement. My client had nothing to do with the unexpected, untimely, and unfortunate passing of the girls in Delphi. So, detectives said the account with the username Anthony Schatz was used on Snapchat and Instagram, among other social media platforms, in 2016 and 2017. So where does Klein fit in? That's what I want to know. Hi, Wolfie.
Is there somebody else out there?
Right now, we've arrested Richard Allen.
So here that is there someone else out there? And this is right when Richard Allen was arrested. Now, just reanalyzing things very closely, it seems like that kind of trips up Doug Carter for a second. We've arrested Richard Allen. So it doesn't answer that question like directly. And he kind of is like fumbling a little bit. I believe that they try to keep like hush hush about Keegan Klein for whatever reason. I don't want to throw Keegan Klein out the window as like a red herring 100%, but I've been wondering, the hair is a deal breaker. Richard Allen's wife said, and all pictures show has shaved head for many years. How'd both people see all that hair? Right. That's a problem, because if he was completely bald, and that's the thing, is the bridge guy's wearing a hat too. So the fact that they're describing all this hair and like the sketch that has the hat on, and hello Chase and everyone else who has joined, Richard Allen is wearing a hat. I mean, the bridge guy is wearing a hat and it has all this hair underneath, you know what I mean? So it's like, how does that get connected to Richard Allen? Now, the Odinism aspect too, like if we're trying to say like, oh, Richard Allen could be involved maybe and not isn't the only one, but he, for some reason, like we haven't connected Odinism or whatever this Noric heathenry or whatever they're trying to say in that document. Richard Allen isn't linked to them either. So it's just a lot of questions, obviously.
Is there somebody else out there?
Right now, we've arrested Richard Allen, and that's what the courts have allowed us to do. We are going to be searching for anyone involved in this case until it's over.
So this is, when Richard Allen got arrested, and they're still not saying that there isn't any, like they're leaving it open for the other people to be involved. I'm just feeling like, so is there other people out there right now? And then we have the defense's paperwork, and it's stating that somebody that I'm not going to use their names, but BH and the other one's name starts with an E. They made questionable statements, or they've done some strange things regarding this case, or they have a son who dated one of the girls and all this connection, and they're actually Odinists and all this stuff. It's just like too many people involved without too much reasonable doubt, in my opinion. Ron Logan, reasonable doubt. Keegan Klein, reasonable doubt. These other two individuals in this new defense documents that they've thrown out there in the mix, reasonable doubt. There's also the search warrant on that other house that took place. Let me just share that screen. This was sent to me when we were discussing this behind the scenes with Teresa today. Why? Okay, so this search warrant, this article is from February 17th, 2017. So just days later. FBI agents raid farmhouse and hunt for killer who murdered 2 teenage girls hours after they posted a haunting last photo from abandoned railroad bridge while hiking in Indiana woods. So let me just read the bullet points. But this is just discussing another person who was kind of being looked at the time. So now we have people behind the scenes that we know of that we're looking at Odinism aspect. Ron Logan, Keegan Klein's place got raided. This guy's place got raided. Officers with Indiana State Police, Carroll County Sheriff's deputies, and FBI agents executed search warrant at a home near Delphi, Indiana, Thursday. The search was part of an investigation into the murders of Abigail Williams, 13, and Liberty German, 14, whose bodies were found on Tuesday. Police were led to the Delphi home by tips that have been coming in since Tuesday. No solid evidence was found and no arrests were made. Police have issued a picture of a man they want to speak to who was at the bridge around the same time as the teens. So hundreds of tips on who might be there, but are still to find him and say he is not being called a suspect. So they're not calling Bridge Guy a suspect at this moment. Pitcher is only known lead in the investigation, which has been made public by law enforcement, who have yet to say how teenagers were killed. Police have not said if girls' phones have been recovered or who took the picture of the mystery man. So they're referring to, obviously, the Bridge Guy image. This is the place that was in the search warrant. Those are the Snapchat pictures, obviously. And then we have this. Now, what does this say up here? Now, is this just a misreported? That's what I was thinking until the words actually come out of the officer's mouth. Police investigate 2 bodies found in Deer Creek. So, what do you guys make of that? Found in Deer Creek. Like, I'm thinking, oh, it's just mistyped.
The right support
I
can
can't
give you
skip these
confidence
ads. Sorry,
in the face of
guys.
uncertainty.
Just a couple seconds.
As a Citi Gold client, a dedicated team will help you navigate the market so you can be ready for that
Tony
next
says,
step.
I feel everyone is connected
We
in
found,
some way.
2 bodies. Is that the Sugar Creek? Deer Creek, sorry. In Deer Creek, about a mile east of town. We have found 2 bodies. Is that the Sugar Creek? Deer Creek, sorry. In Deer Creek.
2 bodies in Deer Creek. Now, remember, we at this point and for many years, we did not know the crime scene, like what it looked like. Now we know that they were found side by side. One was nude, one was wearing the other one's clothing. The other clothing was found in the river. They had their arms posed a specific way, etc. So why is this police officer stating that the bodies were found in the creek? Yeah, that's true. Like they maybe they just didn't want to reveal the real scene, you know? It's hard to know that, and that's the thing is like that's where I was kind of at when I kind of entered this case, like when Richard Allen got arrested. They're keeping things hush hush, things that they've stated them in a specific way to keep the information close to their vest. But now I'm like going back through things and I'm questioning, like, is that the tactic or have they just changed the narrative over time? We're talking about a really long investigation, like years and years. And now we know all the different avenues that people were kind of traveling down. And none of them are connect. Like we don't have, it's not like we've realized like, oh, well, Richard Allen did know Keegan Klein. Like, yes, there is a connection. It's not like we found out Keegan Klein did know this person or that person. Like we don't know any of the people who are connected. We're just assuming like, oh, everyone must be involved together maybe then, but yet we only have them going after Richard Allen. I just don't know, guys. I'm really questioning everything at this moment with this case. There's like no solid ground to stand on.
About a mile east of town. We are investigating this as a crime scene. We suspect foul play.
Now, why wouldn't they be investigating it as a crime scene? Like, so that's another thing that makes me think that maybe they were. What if, okay, no, I'm not going to say I think that. Let's just play devil's advocate. Maybe they were found in the river at first. We know that the FBI claims that their bodies were moved and staged. Who staged it? Now, this comes into the whole conspiracy of law enforcement were the ones that actually dropped the bullet at the scene and they're involved and all that, you know? So when he says we're investigating this as a crime scene, is he referring to the river? Because obviously there would be a crime scene if they're found out in the woods. Like, why would you need to state that we're investigating this as a crime scene? I don't know. To me, that's just weird.
Investigating this as a town, in Deer Creek, about a mile east of town. We are investigating this as a crime scene. We suspect foul play. We have not made positive identification of the two bodies, so we're not going to be releasing any information on them at this point in time. We've got the Indiana State Police is assisting the Carroll County Sheriff's Department and the Delphi City Police Department in the investigation here. We also have the FBI Crime Scene Investigation Group here out of Indianapolis. And one thing the family asked us to do is to thank all the communities around Delphi and the people here in Delphi for assisting in attempting to locate these the two young children that were missing earlier. They just wanted to say thank you to those people, and thank you. They were just wanted to express their gratitude toward the hard work that was done in helping search for these children.
Has the search been called off for these two teenagers?
Not officially, because we have not positively identified the bodies at this point in time.
Do you have people still searching the woods and creeks?
We still have, there's still people out looking, but it has been scaled back. Let me just put it that way.
Are the bodies of the two individuals discovered, are those of young female children?
I'm not at liberty to get that information out as of this time.
Who found them?
I'm not going to say at this point in time.
Why do you believe that there was foul play?
Just the way the bodies were found. That's about all I can say at this point in time.
Were they in the water?
They were on the edge of the water, from what I understand. That's about the best I can tell you.
Any outside injuries?
I'm not going to make a comment on that at this.
So he says they were found on the edge of the water, which is still very vague because I believe that it wasn't like edge of the water to me means like right next to the waterbed. But I don't think I think they were further away. So, and again, maybe they're keeping it quiet a little bit because they don't want all their information out there, right? This is very early on in the investigation. But it's just strange how he said what he said. And yeah, two dead children is a crime scene.
What time were they found? That I'm not sure. 12:15? 12:15. About 12:15 this afternoon.
Are there any either suspects or persons of interest being questioned at this time?
We have not gotten that far into the investigation, so I cannot comment one way or the other.
Somebody asked something. Hold on, let me just scroll up at the chat. Okay, yeah. Is it true that they didn't keep the sticks that were found on the bodies? Yes. Unfortunately, that is true. Okay.
And today's no different than that.
There's been a lot of activity on this today. Keegan Klein, they had 5, the prosecutor dropped or dismissed 5.
I did see that this morning.
Is there any correlation between those charges being dropped and the search that was performed in the Wabash River?
No, absolutely not.
Has he?
I think he was charged with 30 counts. They've dropped 5. He still has 25. The case has not been dropped against Keegan Klein.
So that's the thing, is he's denying that the 5 counts that were dropped on Keegan Klein had anything to do with them searching that river area, because it was right after they had spoken to him behind bars, and then they searched that area. Next thing you know, we find out through the courts that he had charges dropped. So Doug Carter is denying that there's any connection to the Delphi case. and them dropping charges. Do you believe him when he says that there's no connection to any of that? Because I don't trust that Keegan Klein has absolutely nothing to do with this. I don't know 100%, and I've gone back and forth on it, but it's just too coincidental that he would have charges dropped after an interview done, and then stuff that was found, or the search that was found in the river, and the fact that he was using the Anthony Schatz account, and that account was one of the last accounts to ever contact the girls. It's just all too coincidental for him not to be involved. Yeah, exactly. He wasn't charged with anything in the Delphi case, but maybe, there's a reason. Maybe there's connection to him and people who were involved in the case. You know what I mean? Like, I have a hard time like letting go of Anthony Schatz, and he's connected to Anthony Schatz.
I asked Superintendent Carter if Klein had been cooperative, and he declined to discuss Klein any further.
So I want to know, do you guys think Keegan Klein is involved? And do you believe Ron Logan is involved? And when I say involved, I mean, could he be somebody who would let them use his property or look the other way or something like that? We don't know 100%, and I don't think anyone knows 100%, but it's just, nothing makes sense in this case.
The search warrant is for the property of Ronald Logan, who owned the land where the two girls were found dead. You see him here in this video shot by Wish TV in 2017, just days after the girls were murdered. It describes his activity the day the girls went missing. The agent says Logan claimed someone drove him to an aquarium store in Lafayette on the afternoon of February 13th, at the time the girls disappeared. But the agent says these statements were found to be factually false and intentionally designed to deceive law enforcement officers. The agent says Logan contacted his cousin and asked him to tell that story before the bodies were found.
So before the bodies are found, he's already asking his cousin to kind of lie for him. So interesting timeline too of all that.
Based on investigators' experience, it is reasonable to believe that the creation of an alibi prior to the discovery of a crime indicates culpability or knowledge of the crime.
Monday afternoon, I was in Lafayette Aquarium World getting a tropical fish for my aquarium. So when I came home, one of the neighbors stopped and asked for permission to come back here and look for the missing girls, and that's the first time I knew anything about it. So I fooled with my tropical fish the whole time that the search was going on Monday night, but then they didn't find them until Tuesday at around noon or 1 or whatever it was.
The document written by an FBI agent describes what investigators found when they discovered the bodies of Abby Williams and Libby German on February 14th. The agent writes, a large amount of blood was lost by the victims at the crime scene. Because of the nature of the victim's wounds, it is nearly certain the perpetrator of the crime would have gotten blood on his person or clothing. Authorities also found that 2 articles of clothing from one of the girls was missing from the crime scene, while the rest of their clothing was recovered. It also appeared the girls' bodies were moved and staged.
So I just want to pause it there for a quick minute. Moved and staged. That could mean so many things as far as the word moved, like moved around that area. Like, did it look like she was slid, moved, like that was a secondary crime scene and there was somewhere else that the crime took place? What exactly does the term moved and staged mean? I think that it's possible that that's the secondary crime scene, which leads me to think, when were they put there? Was it because nobody saw them on Ron Logan's property that day that they were searching for them, and then they find them the next day? So it's like, how did Ron not see them? How did no one else see them until the next day? I can't help but wonder, where all the blood was, because they're stating that there was just, it wasn't like visible there. We don't know exactly, where this crime took place. Some people believe that it was in the river and that's why there was no blood around, and the clothing that was found in the river. I'm just curious, where exactly it happened and what the word moved and staged means.
The agent goes on to say, based upon my training and experience, it is common for perpetrators of this type of crime to take a souvenir or in some fashion memorialize the crime scene.
I believe that FBI really thought that Ron Logan was a suspect when they're writing this report. I mean, obviously they had some interest in probing him further because the bodies were found on his property. He had a criminal record and he was on probation and broke it and lied about his alibi. Everything just looks so sketchy. But again, there's people who are very much like he has no involvement in this. Now, I don't think that Ron Logan is Bridge Guy. That's the thing. Like, I don't think that they match up. As far as what looks we can see of Bridge Guy, it just doesn't appear to be Ron Logan. I know other people think that it could be. I don't. However, am I so sure that Bridge Guy is Richard Allen? I don't know. No, Richard Allen hasn't mentioned any of the other people that we're kind of throwing into the mix. And like, we don't have really anything from him besides after being put behind bars, he allegedly confessed to his wife over the phone. And his defense is saying that he was made to say that, and he's being threatened behind bars by guards. And the guards are coming out saying we never threatened him, but we have had to tase him twice because he wasn't being cooperative. And, they're denying threatening him into a confession, basically. The other thing, too, is so he comes forward the day after these murders take place and says, I was there, but I was just looking at the fish. I did see some girls, though. And we all wonder, like, why would a guilty person do that? Or why would an innocent person do that? Now, we kind of wonder the same thing. If he's guilty, why would he say it over the phone in this confession to his wife, knowing that the phone calls are being recorded? It's just not really making sense.
The agent also references the video on Libby's phone, confirming it was 43 seconds long. Up until now, only a few seconds have been made public. It's this short audio clip where you hear the suspect talking to the girls. The agent also confirms the girls were being followed by the suspect on the Monon High Bridge Trail. The agent also says there were no visible signs of a struggle or fight.
The no signs of a struggle or a fight has really confused me because their clothing being off and everything like that. Like, I'm just, and how, I don't know. It's just really thrown me for a loop. And it could mean, like, did they recognize who did this to them? But at the same time, they were recording Bridge Guy. So it seemed like they were doing it because he was following them for a while and they didn't know him, you know? So the two males in the defense mentioned, BH and the guys whose name starts with E. The defense is claiming that they have more ties to this Odinism. Here's one of the guys. Do we think that this has anything to do with the sketches or with the case at all? It seems like the defense is just trying to cause reasonable doubt. This is the guy whose name starts with an E. Now, the interesting thing about this guy is the defense tells us that his sister came out and said, hold on, I'm just looking up. this post, but pretty much the sister of this guy took a polygraph because she says that he pretty much confessed to her that he was involved in the crime. And he claimed that his DNA would be on one of the girls because he spit on her at the crime scene. He told the officer that. So not only does his sister come forward and pass the lie detector test saying that he was involved, he tells the officers that he admits to spitting on them and that his DNA was going to be found at the crime scene. So a lot of people are wondering, if he admitted to the cop that he spit on her and that his DNA would be found there, why isn't he arrested? And other people are throwing it out there, well, that's because the cops are part of this cult too. And, so it's just this whole conspiracy and craziness. And he pretty much said, but the other thing is people are stating that he has low IQ and he doesn't know what he's saying and doing, or, or something, or that he's demented. I don't know. I don't really know all the ins and outs of these people, but that seems to be what the defense is claiming as truth, and that the sister really did pass a polygraph. So more reasonable doubt in my mind, 100%. And the problem is too, what if these people are some of the people that found the bodies, like when they were searching for them? I don't know. Because that's the other problem, is these anonymous pictures that were taken of the clothing in the river. We went through these last time. Not going to go through them all again. But just to bring up the fact of these were sent to this blogger. They were sent to me anonymously. Taken with a smartphone by a civilian prior to the arrival of authorities, after the discovery of the bodies. So, who is this person? Like, if I was the defense, I'd be like, this anonymous person who took these photos, like, we're going to need to get a hold of you. Why were you there doing that? And why did you, it's just another person and more things that are in the mix that just shouldn't be there. How did they not see this bright clothing when they were looking for the girls? Or this bright shoe? To me, it's like what you guys said earlier. Somebody in chat said it. It was a bad investigation. Too many people in the mix. They weren't the people that found the bodies. I don't know, because they asked Doug Carter, or they asked that law enforcement agent in that one clip we just played, who found them, and he said, I'm not going to reveal that. So I don't think we know who found the bodies. People assumed that those pictures were taken by the searchers, but it's an anonymous tip. It's an anonymous source. Like, we don't really know for sure that those photos from the river were taken by a searcher. And not only that, it's like, who are these people? Why were they there? To search for real or to hide things? It's just to explain why their DNA is there. I don't know. And hello, Florida Bass Fishing. Good to see you. Why is this picture so long? Hold on. Yeah, anyone is capable of doing anything, in my opinion. That's the problem. And polygraph results are not admissible in court because they do not work, but answers to incriminating questions during the test reveal a lot more than most civilians know, right? It's just like a tool used in investigations. But I still think that it's noteworthy that, she said that her brother admitted to this crime. She takes a polygraph, passes, and he says, that his DNA will be found there because he spit on her. I don't know. It's just making me really wonder what took place when they found those bodies, who found them, how long did it take for law enforcement to get to the scene? Because here they got people in the river taking photos before they even got there, but after the bodies were found, and then that other website I showed you guys of people that were zooming in on the bodies. So this was something I found that I thought was interesting. They're pointing out that in some of the press conferences, they kept saying, forget the face of Bridge Guy, observe the way he walks. They have the DNA, but it belongs to someone from authorities. What can they do with that? Is this what's behind? So this person is pretty much insinuating that the cops are part of all this. I don't know if that's the case, but I think it's interesting how she pointed out how they kept saying in this press release, don't focus on his face, focus on the way he walks. So they give us these two sketches of these faces that they want us to focus on. And then they give us Bridge Guy. Like, to me, it really does seem like there's more than one person involved. Now, the voices, guys down the hill, people have speculated the person who says guys isn't the same person who says down the hill. People have speculated that the person saying all those statements isn't even Bridge Guy and it's somebody else who's there. I'm really thinking that if Richard Allen is involved, that there's other people involved with him and in this 43-second clip, or that explains the two different sketches. What are you guys thinking? So we can look at, obviously, the way he walks, because that's what law enforcement has asked us to do. Don't pay attention to his face, just watch the way he walks. Then we'll compare it to a clip of Richard Allen at the pool hall. So Florida Bass Fishing says, heck yeah, same limp, 100%. How tall do you think, Florida, how tall do you think Bridge Guy is? I won't tell you how tall Richard Allen is, but I want to know, I mean, just yet, but I want to know how tall you think Bridge Guy is, because the thing for me is Bridge Guy looks taller than what Richard Allen's height is. I think the walk is very similar, though. I have to agree. Tony says same walk. Everything we see in this case points to some ring or group. I think so too. The man on the bridge walks as if he had hip problems. Jody is cool. Good to see you. Oh, wow. Same walk. Yes. Wait, that's Richard Allen. I thought it was told it wasn't Richard Allen, but it was someone else, like BH, guy at the pool table. I believe it's Richard Allen and with his wife. Pretty sure. So Bridge Guy, Florida says, looks 5'9", 5'10". I heard that he is 5'4". So that's why I was like, wait, what? Because Bridge Guy to me looks taller than 5'4". I don't know, Crime Sleuthin'. I've had the video up for a long time. This one right here on the screen, or the guy in the Adidas pants? Because I've heard that they're both Richard Allen. I have seen that pool table footage from another angle, and it's Richard Allen. That's what I thought so too, but I don't know. The bridge guy looks 5'8", 5'10", and Allen is 5'4". Yeah. Yeah, he's 5'4". So that's where I get kind of hung up, because I'm like, that guy on the bridge looks taller than 5'4". I don't know. Now, here's the other thing that I've kind of been relooking at. They stated, look at Richard Allen. He's, I can't believe he took a picture of himself with his wife in front of this sketch. And that's the Justin Timberlake sketch, the first sketch that was released. How cocky is he to take this photo and have it up on Facebook? Now, just looking at it from another angle, what if he's not involved at all? So that's why he's taking this photo, like smiling, because, what kind of guilty person would put a picture up on Facebook of himself next to like the suspect mugshot? Like, just like the whole, why would a guilty person, knowing that the phone calls are recorded, confess to his wife on the prison phone that he did everything? I don't know. So I just think it's important to kind of play devil's advocate here. Like, is he taking this because he's sick and twisted and he knows that mugshot is there? Or is he just taking this photo and laughing and smiling for it because he's not involved at all? Yeah, Tony said maybe he forgot it was there. And then the other person who wrote that they used to deliver things to the CVS he worked at, and every day Richard Allen would walk into work and see the mugshot. See, there's the other sketch of the other person on the bridge. And it pretty much says every day that he went to work, this monster was working in there, walking into work every day with his picture on the door every day. And, at first I seen this and I was like, wow, that's crazy. Like, they even had it on at his work. And here it shows like the CVS and the sketch is there at the register. Then I started thinking about it. I'm like, well, why, if he's guilty, why wouldn't he have just taken the sketch down, or like found a reason to like take it down? It goes missing and it was actually him taking it down. It's strange to me that like something like that wouldn't have happened if it was him or he is involved. But you could also say, well, he didn't want anyone to see him doing that because that would look suspicious and, that would draw more attention to him. But I don't know. It just makes me wonder, is that the case, or would somebody just do it anyways and try to hide the fact that they took it down or something? It's just playing devil's advocate on certain things, So they towed away his SUV, and apparently they had bags of clothing. They're stating that they took a jacket that looked like Bridge Guy's, and I can't help but wonder, guilty person, why would he still hold on to the jacket? If he's Bridge Guy and they took the jacket, to me, it's like, why wouldn't he have just gotten rid of that if that's an identifying aspect for him in all this? So they took the gun, which is like the only thing that's really tying him to the crime scene, is the fact that the unspent round found in between the girls is a match to the handgun that he owns. Now, other people have stated that they believe that that gun is also a popular gun that law enforcement carries, and that's why that unspent round was found there, and it was actually law enforcement's. I don't know that. And the defense is going to bring their experts on the gun information to the trial, and so will the prosecution. I don't know if it's connected or not, but that is one of the things that is tying Richard Allen to the whole scene. So I don't know if anyone is more confused or feeling like they have any type of direction at all after this live stream, but I'm pretty much so confused in this case. And I felt way more confident covering this case when Richard Allen was arrested because I was certain, like, yep, they got the guy. And now that he's been behind bars and actually in prison, not even county jail, it's super strange to me. And hearing about this guy who apparently confessed to spitting on them and saying that his DNA would be found at the scene, and his sister with the polygraph. And then we have BH and his ties to what appears to be Odinism. On his Facebook and all that we went through in our last live stream. It just, I can't get a grasp or solid footing in any of this. Before, I was certain that there was some group or ring, like Johnny was saying, and that Keegan Klein or his father is involved with that because of the Anthony Shots thing. But we had questions and problems connecting Richard Allen to Keegan Klein at all. Again, they probably have more information than we all know, but what is the connection? Who is involved? Ron Logan passed away. Girls found on his property. He lies about where he was that day and what he was doing. It seems like FBI was looking into him at first. So it's all very strange and weird. But I don't know. We're going to keep looking into things. And again, the patches, that was something else that I was kind of, well, if it's proven that these prison guards were wearing these Odinism style patches, let me just switch my screen up again. I said to myself, then that will make me think that this Odinism aspect is, a possibility. And they come out with their stuff today, and these signed and sworn affidavits, and these correctional officers are pretty much saying, like, yeah, I had patches. I was wearing them. I was wearing them up until September 2023, which I believe they were told to take them off after the defense documents come out. So, it's just this one right here. It's like, I do not practice Odinism, but I do wear patches on my uniform that can be, but are not associated with Odinism. So it's like, they can be, but they're not. It's just, there seems to be something deeper going on, but I don't know what. And I don't know who to trust as far as prosecution, law enforcement, the defense. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, everyone's pretty much agreeing. It's getting really crazy. How are they allowed patches? That's gangish. That's the thing too, is like, especially since they're stating that 5 inmates practice this religion. I don't know. Yeah, super confused. Everyone's confused. So I don't know if I helped or made everything more confusing by having this live tonight, but I'm hoping for more clarity and direction, and hopefully we can find it together, because this all is not making sense. And yet Richard Allen is withering away, apparently being tased behind bars. And when is the trial? Are we going to get there? Because I'm not so sure his mental capacity is holding up. Yeah, exactly. I'm about to, Shay. Yeah, a bunch of power freaks. That's the problem too, is like, there seems to be some sort of hiccup. And now we heard Doug Carter state earlier in the stream that he was referring to something about the sketches, and he says, I don't regret doing that strategy. So it just seems like, he wasn't even asked, do you regret this or that about the investigation? He came out saying, I don't regret that strategy. I just feel like there's a lot of pride going on, and maybe differences in opinions that were going on. And it has not served the victims or this case well at all. I mean, look how long it took to even get Richard Allen. Now, are they going to be able to convict Richard Allen? That's the big question. Will 12 jurors see this stuff that the defense is sharing, and will it raise reasonable doubt for them? Like, I can't lie. Like, I would have so much reasonable doubt in this case. I really would. Unless we get to see some bombshell evidence, tying Richard Allen that they just haven't shared. But thank you guys so much for being here. Tuesday night, Friday night will be the live stream nights. Please give the stream a thumbs up, and we will talk very soon, and we'll be covering this case and many others. Some of these YouTubers that have known arrests in Delphi, do you think maybe these people might have blamed them officers? Maybe there is patches, but it was inmates putting blame on them. I don't know. I don't know. I do think it's weird that they were wearing patches though. But thank you guys. We'll talk soon. I'll try to see if I can gather more thoughts on any of this, but I just think that a lot of this stuff is problematic, and I'm concerned for 12 jurors to be able to say Richard Allen's guilty. And if he is involved and they're not able to bring 12 jurors to say that, then that's an even bigger problem. But thank you guys. I almost left without saying goodbye. So goodbye. Good night, guys.